Nowadays, everybody, all the world leaders says that we need peace in the world. Talking doesn't work. You have to act. So I think we are people basically communicating each other, and we are doing that because if you have one person can generate such a peace and calmness, I think that is the best way to serve the humanity, because people are going through tremendous suffering and they need help. How much we think we are independent. We always totally dependent upon people, what we eat, who made those food, people, what we wear. Everything comes from people. We are not really independent. So just think about how wonderful that people support us. All these sources come from people. And in fact, ourselves come from people. So I think those are very important to understand, and I'm learning as well. And so now I may go through the walking meditation. Walking meditation is when Buddhist monks during the time of Buddha, even they do now in Theravada tradition or other Zen tradition, that they go through the village. If maybe you saw that monks carrying begging bowls and don't look around and walking straight. Excuse me. Is burps considered bad here? No? Okay. Because in Tibet it means, you are full. Full, stomach full, so you have to do that. And just somebody, I remember one of my neighbor, grandma, she does all the time. I thought, oh, can you do that again, please? We felt, she's totally full stomach, So anyway. And that is not walking meditation. So walking meditation, the hand posture is like this. You hold hands like this. Let's see if I do it. Okay, this is more like Indian kings play, seats like this, right? Let's see, I don't drop anything. So I have to display it. Okay. So I walk now here. If I walk there. So one thing is that you would like to make sure that your spine straight, like straight, and then you have hands like this. This is called mindfulness hand, kind of mindfulness. And then when you walk, each people, space between two people, like, I don't know, I'm not good about measuring. But in Tibet it is said the length of yoke, the one we use when you plow field, put on yaks or something like this, wood. Anyway, the point is that you don't want to step on other person's toe. Is it toe? Alright, so yeah, you are like this. Then you walk, you don't want to walk like this, but you make sure, first step like this slowly. Because your whole concentration goes to the feet, not the breath or anything. When you totally feel like this, slowly, like this. No, let's to go. Going back. Anyway, that's we call walking meditation. And sometimes when you take walk, actually it's very, very important to do that, you know. And then of course there's meditation on sound, appearances, the form, sound, taste, feeling, smell, and everything, you know. So that's why in our life, sometimes you can do this meditation whatever you do. One of the, I think, important part is the sound and the form. Normally, some people very, very sensitive with sound. When you hear noises, you don't like to hear any noise. But it's very interesting how our mind decides. But you really don't mind to have loud music. That is sound, isn't it? But mind decides the music is something good. You think it's really good too. So you just, rap music or other very loud music, you listen. But when you don't listen, you hear a sound, then you agitate. So it is actually very, very interesting, because when you do sound meditation, whether somebody yells you or somebody, chats, meaningless chat, whatever it does, it just, as soon as you hear the sound, just like you are hearing now, I say one word, disappears into, vanish into emptiness, isn't it? It doesn't really, make much sense. So it's like, that is sometimes, when you hear sounds, you use that as an object. You simply aware sound. The loudest city, you can practice meditation perfectly if you can focus on that. The same thing with taste, rather than just judge this is good or bad, you simply aware that taste. Same thing like feeling and form. When you look at people or animals or whatever you see, it's constantly changed, isn't it? It's just when you in dream, sometimes you see images and it just vanish. Same thing, you just look at people or using as a subject rather than a solid or real. I think I should close. So maybe I stop here and then maybe you can ask questions, because I'm talking too much. Doesn't make sense. Any questions? Mm-hmm.
You said that sometimes we create anger, and if you don't like something, we just think about it over and over again, and we end up creating a big anger.
Mm-hmm.
So, what shall we do if we don't like something? We should just try to forget about it and go on, or what?
Let's see, in Tibetan Buddhism, for example, like most don't like come from people. We judge other people's reaction and people's judgment, personality. But when you are a practitioner, we consider people who irritate you is very, very important, because without this kind of cause, you can't practice patience. So patience is the most important practice in Buddhism. So the other part is that if somebody upsets you, if you are not there, that person does upset. In addition to that, the person, you as one cause, the other person get upset, and then that person create negative karma because of us. And so when you have this kind of situation, we consider this as an opportunity to be patient. There's a quotation by Shantideva, the same Bodhisattva. He said that this is an example that if, for example, if the entire planet is covered with thorns, and if you want to save or protect that thorn with something, cover on it, skin or whatever, wood or something, it's very hard to find. On the other hand, if you protect your foot, feet or foot, whatever. If you protect your foot, then you don't need to do anything on that planet. You just simply can walk without harm. So mostly the anger is created by ourselves. We are the one judge everything, how people talk. And of course, when we judge this, we also show reactions people don't like. But if we protect our own anger, understanding that the benefits of patience, and then there won't be problem. And if there will be problem, we also continue to emphasize on that. So in Tibetan Buddhism, as a practitioner, if somebody irritates you, looks at you, something funny, says something bad, it is a wonderful opportunity to practice patience. And on the other hand, also we see some people is very aggressive, agitated, considered as a, like crazy child that mother loves even more than others. Because this person is totally controlled by anger, and he or she doesn't have a really power to control. So that's why they become object of compassion as well. Oscar.
Hi, Lama Karma. Thank you for coming. And, I really enjoyed your introduction and some meditation and meditation.
Gracias.
It felt very at home for me.
Tayepa.
Maybe I should talk to you about this.
It's interesting because Tayepa is a totally Tibetan term. Tayepa is good in Martis, but in Tibet, Tayepa means boundless, limitless, beyond. Yeah, so Tayepa. Okay, sorry.
And in both your talks, you have placed emphasis on happiness and liberation from suffering. Now, and of course, meaning no disrespect, but this point comes up for me, and I really would like to clarify it. The whole of Tibet is very sadly subjugated by China. And that is, of course, not a joyful situation. His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, is living in self-imposed exile. And every few months or so, a brave Tibetan monk or nun, they set themselves on fire in protest against the subjugation of Tibet. And that is a situation that is very, for me, very painful and very full of suffering. So how would you relate this practice of happiness and liberation from suffering, which what actually is going on here and now, in this painful situation?
Right.
And I apologize if I brought up pain.
No, that's actually, no, there's no, any strange questions. Whatever question is good. As you know, all the Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism, is no difference. Focus on karma. Karma is very important. And we as a Tibetan lost our country. It's very sad. But I'm an honest person, I don't really, what I think, maybe, there's, like we as Tibetan people did something wrong, that we don't have enough merit to continue our country. I don't totally blame to, Chinese government or anything like that, because karma is very, very sensitive, very, very important. And there's the time, sometimes the aspiration of others, negative aspiration ripens our aspiration. Maybe we didn't do enough aspiration, or didn't enough to practice. So that's maybe the cause we lost our country. And nowadays we are losing, monks, as you mentioned. But our leader, like, of course, largely his name is Dalai Lama, and also my own lineage master, his name is Karmapa, is the holder of this lineage. Constantly, asking or requesting monks not to do that, because life is very precious and it is very important to continue. Especially we don't have so many Tibetan people. One life is very precious. But this is happening again and again out of desperation, out of sadness. But as a practitioner, I really, of course, it is very sad. I just constantly praying for them. But I really don't have further comment, because I don't know nothing about politics. And I totally dedicated for the religious function, and I think that's pretty much. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
What can I do about laziness?
What can I do about laziness? In Buddhism, the laziness comes from not understanding about impermanence. Which means that life is unpredictable, it can be very short. Therefore, today we start the day as a practitioner. When you start the day, you think about impermanence. I want to do something really good, otherwise I cannot have this day again. So, if you are a practitioner, we do practice. If you are not, you say, I do something meaningful for oneself. I don't want to waste my energy for meaningless things, because it's impermanence. So impermanence is very important to be diligent. Mm-hmm. Yes.
You mentioned the importance between transmission between a guru and disciple, but we here do not always have the benefit of having a guru in front of us, or the benefit of speaking or being in the presence of someone like that. Would you have any guidelines in situations like this?
I think you do have, because, for example, like whether or not I can sometimes function as guru to teach my lineage. Let's say Tibetan, in Tibetan we have 4 lineages. I'm one of the lineage, and I teach. I give homework to students. I also travel to South America. I don't go to South America every year. Like every month or something. I only go once a year. I go there. I give them one homework. For example, like right now I am giving you guys, if you are interested, giving the practice of shamatha meditation that we went through. It is not something you can do few days and then you want to do next one. Not like that. You want to keep doing this shamatha meditation for a year. And then, as I mentioned, I come back to teach more next stage. And also we have at the end. Why it's so hard to remember? He practiced a lot from Tibetan Buddhism, same lineage that we have, and he has agreed that he can help with the group. So that's why you can do this shamatha meditation every week if you would like to, or whenever your time allows. And then tomorrow I give Chinese Aulok Shurava empowerment. It is a chanting form to the compassionate deity we call. Aulok Shurava is a deity, and also like his name is Dalai Lama, his name is Kamapa, a lot of Tibetan masters, the emanation of Genese, who's the embodiment of compassion and the antidote for anger. So I would give that initiation tomorrow, and I already recorded the sadhana, the chanting part. It is very short, probably takes like 15 minutes, so we can add that. That is totally enough for the beginners, like for a year homework. If you're really interested, next time I can come, and you have to buy my ticket. And I can give the next stage, That's how I do in different other places. So I don't see this not different. And I also told him that I can also talk through Skype. I can give teaching and on broadcast teaching. Sometimes do project together. Yes. Well, I think there's one. Yeah, maybe you first.
Would you be able to free your mind from desires?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. If you work towards that, When you talk about desire, I think desire is quite a big subject. Maybe you think about your desire to what? It is private. Yeah, it is. If you talk about desire to material, then other desire, there are many desires. What we do normally, desire is everybody has a desire, but depending on what kind of desire you have, When we practice Dharma, there are some wishings, desires to help others, homeless children, release animals. Those are considered positive actions. We accept those. Some desires, I want this, I want that, those are negative karma. So there is a lot of difference with different desires.
It's not a constant fight. Would it be a constant fight?
Constant.
Fight in your mind, like...
What does that mean, constant fight?
Ongoing.
Ongoing.
Una lucha interna.
Oh, what's that? I think we only have one concept, or let's say one time you only have one concept. You can have two concepts. Sometimes we have desire, sometimes we have anger, sometimes we have all sort of things. And so we have to make sure which one is more meaningful. For example, as I mentioned earlier, did you guys, I did go through the 10 virtues, actions, and how many people heard that before? 10 virtues, actions, related to body, speech, and mind? Oh, okay, maybe I will go through that because it's very important. One Buddha's teaching, it is similar to what Christians teach, in Bible. The 10 virtues related to body, speech, and mind. I mean, that's all we have, body, speech, and mind. Physically, not killing, not stealing, not having sexual misconduct. This, sexual misconduct is you have your own partner and then going to someone else. And those 3 for the body. And speech, lying, you're lying to people, harsh words, divisiveness, out of jealous, you divide 2 friends or something. That happens mostly for the friends, because you kind of have that to neutral people. Then don't come on. So it's idle speech, a meaningless speech. You can't control over speech. You just want to say everything you have to think. Just no meaningless. So I mean, this can destroy the power of your speech. And then mentally, greedy. Let's say wanting. I want this. I want that. That may be desire. And then want to harm to others. And then last is called wrong view. Wrong view means you don't really accept the reality. The reality, we talk about suffering. It is very reality that we're going to die, we get sick, we get older, but you don't accept those. Those are wrong views. And there's consequences of each of these. For example, it's called 10 non-virtues. And now we transform that into virtues, actions, which means not killing. Not only you killing, but you also release animals, help those animals, and not only you stealing. Instead of giving up stealing, you become generosity, giving to other people who need. That is the giving part, I think, very, very important for us because those of us who have money, instead of buying so many things, you just see 5, you can share that money to those people who really need. Because sometimes we buy too much. In America they say, oh, this is our tradition, we must buy. But actually, that is a little bit not discipline there, because if you really, when they go shopping, you just throw everything what you want, and they pay everything, and at the end, you don't really need all of this, stored, etc. So we have to use our wealth wisely. That's came from where? Not stealing. That's for body. And then speech. Instead of lying, you said truth. And also the truth has also meaning, because sometimes if you say everything is truth, it is not going so well. If you say everything honest truth, and some people don't like that. So you have to be skillful way of truth, whatever way to help others. For example, in the West, when you meet people, you say, shake hands, you say, you look good, you look lost weight. I mean, all of this have to put up, which is not really true, but it makes the person really happy, Opposite, when they say, I lost weight, I don't like that. I like to gain weight. It's Tibetan culture, can't help. So anyway, you have to be skillful. And instead of dividing people, like divisiveness, if you see something, you always say something that makes them, come together, make them happy, instead of, separating. Instead of harsh word, you say meaningful word, gently, and appropriate speech. Not, endless speech, but when you need, you speak. Not all the time. But sometimes, when people look sad and they need support, you can talk a lot because you care that person. You talk a lot, that makes the person happy. So it all has to do to help others. That comes from gossip. Gossip, normally give up, but when you need, if somebody needs, you have to gossip to help others. Then mentally there are four, as I mentioned. Desire, I want this, I want that. So you try to be content. Whatever you have, you can share those to people. You try to be content what you have. The joy of life is contentment. You have, whatever life you have, you're content. Because everybody has your own beauty. It doesn't matter what physical condition you have, you really have your own beauty. Because people normally don't satisfied, want to be, like myself, I want to be a little bigger. But I do actually enjoy what I have now. But that is Tibetan tradition, If somebody says you look very skinny, we don't like that. So etc., Contentment. And then second is instead of abandoning harming to others, you try to be compassionate and try to help others. Then lastly, the wrong view, you just accept the reality. So those are, we call 10 virtuous actions, and when it goes opposite, it's called non-virtuous actions. And each of this has a consequence. For example, like if you kill animals intentionally, it makes your life shorten. You shorten your life, and also it brings illness in your future lives. Each of them have a lot of consequences, karmic consequences. Anything else? Yes.
With anger, what do you do when it is fear-based? If I do something and I get angry about doing it, it's because I'm scared of doing the opposite.
I do something. What does that mean? I'm scared. If there's opportunity to escape that from that, would be wonderful. If not, then you don't have. For example, if this is a little bit harmful to others, and if you are, for example, your boss. Maybe the example. Or maybe I clicked on and nailed it. Yeah, if your boss says yeah. To protect your job, you have to say yes, but you confess. There's no meaning or no value to get angry. Because it was not your choice. You have to maintain your job, you have to say that. But also, it is very important to confess both yourself and your boss situation. Because maybe, the yes made a big difference, conscious is
to